Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
Right here we have breaking. Below are the 2 legal memos that have now been unsealed by the court. These go back to 2012 regarding what lawyers are telling the Ripple legal team on whether or not XRP could one day be a security. If we pop open this document, I only went through it very quickly, but one thing that jumped out at me was this paragraph right here. It says, and just so you know, Ripple credits are XRP. They were called Ripple credits before XRP was given the name XRP. Although we believe there is a compelling argument that can be made that Ripple credits do not constitute as securities under federal securities law, given the lack of applicable case, we believe there is some risk, although very small, that the SEC disagrees with our analysis. So right here, they're literally telling Ripple there is a tiny chance based on what XRP is that the SEC could one day down the road come back and say we see these as securities. But they say it is a very small risk, and based on their analysis, they do not see XRP as a security. You guys need to understand, all this was being said 5 to 6 years before the SEC even attempted to make statements on digital assets. So from Ripple's perspective, back in 2012, what they were being told by legal teams is we do not see how this XRP thing could be declared a security. This was also at a time where the network was far less built out, far less decentralized, and it was a much different scenario. And even back in this time, they are saying, we do not anticipate this being an issue because your digital asset XRP does not fundamentally meet the definition of a security. This is 5 to 6 years before the SEC offered any guidance on the topic. So right here, we can see that Ripple has been being a responsible steward this entire time. They are clearly just going by what they were told back in the day, and that is that XRP is not a security. And it's also very critical to point out here that back when these lawyers were telling Ripple that XRP is very likely not a security, they had no way of knowing that later down the road, the SEC was going to come at them and say, we actually think cryptocurrencies are a security. Therefore, Ripple was simply following their legal advice and was not going to completely blow up their business model off in, at the time, a rational fear that possibly 8 years later, the SEC could come along and say, everything you've been doing this entire time has been wrong and been against the law, we just decided not to tell you. This was obviously an extremely hard situation to be in at the time, and Ripple could only go by what their lawyers were telling them, which is XRP is very likely not a security. Let's keep moving though. Now we get into the SEC 180. We know this entire time the SEC has been trying to say that the Ethereum free pass speech was William Hinman's personal opinion because they are terrified to compare Ethereum to XRP. They know there are virtually no differences, and there's actually someone on Fox Business News today essentially saying that he does not believe there are any material fundamental differences between XRP and Ether. I tweeted out, this scares the SEC more than anything. The last thing the SEC wants to do is end up in a situation where they need to make a difference between Ethereum and XRP and say Ethereum was not a security because of this, and XRP is a security because of this, because they have no evidence for why that would be the case. Therefore, the SEC had been going along this whole lawsuit saying that all the Ethereum free pass stuff was all Bill Hinman's personal opinion. Well, last night they 180'd on this because if it was Bill Hinman's personal opinion, they had to hand over emails on how Bill Hinman came up with that conclusion. Right here, Jeremy Hogan is talking about the 180, and he tweets out, I am reading it, but I can't quite believe it. Now the speech wasn't Hinman's personal opinion at all, but intended to convey the Department of Corporate Finance's position on digital assets. In the legal world, this is as crazy as it gets. The Ripple lawyers must be chomping at the bit. And what the SEC is doing is they are 180ing, saying that this speech was now SEC guided because they don't want to hand over the emails regarding Hinman because they know they are littered in corruption. But let me show you guys what these emails might hold because I think it might blow your mind. So first, this is another lawyer's opinion. He says, wow, I haven't done a deep dive on this, but too long to read. Complete 180 by the SEC. If the court buys it, the speech will be protected by DPP, and essentially the SEC will not have to hand over the emails. But it will bolster Ripple's fair notice defense because the SEC literally can't even get their argument straight during this hearing. So if the SEC can't even get their agency's position straight on whether or not this William Hinman free pass speech was SEC guided or his personal opinion, then how the heck were market participants supposed to know what was going on? The SEC doesn't know what's going on, and they're making it blatantly obvious by contradicting themselves throughout this entire case. John Dean actually said that the SEC lawyers are very transactionary, which means they are fighting every issue as it goes individually and not piecing the whole thing together. It's because the SEC does not have the law on their side. They are constantly lying and constantly making up new arguments at every chance they get. Because of this, the entire lawsuit by the SEC has become extremely inconsistent, and this is a great example of them completely contradicting themselves. While this could prevent Ripple from getting the emails, if the judge does believe that it is now SEC guided and not Hinman's personal opinion, it will go a long way in proving that Ripple never had fair notice. So once again, we're in another win-win for Ripple. And he also makes the prediction that in the drafts, there were likely a lot of comments about XRP likely not being a security. This is something we don't have a lot of proof on yet, but I've seen a lot of lawyers speculating that the reason there were so many drafts of the speech is because they were likely talking about other digital assets like XRP, and the Ethereum people wanted that taken out. Let's keep moving though, and I just wanted to read you this tweet by Stuart Alderati because this is exactly what we're seeing right now. This was all the way back on December 6, 2021, and he said the SEC is making it up as it goes, using strategic ambiguity and enforcement or the threat of it to advance its own jurisdiction rather than collaborate with other regulators, policymakers, and market participants. When will the tactic stop? And this is exactly what we're watching. The SEC changes their argument at every single filing. They do not have a consistent case. They have very little evidence. They are simply arguing every single point as it comes, lying whenever they can to try to force that specific issue to turn in their favor. I do not think this is going to work out in the long term, and I think this is going to come back to bite them. They have to know, and the court has to know, that the SEC is not making any valid points on why XRP should be a security. They're simply arguing points as they come and saying whatever gets them to the next stage. It looks like right now most of their next stage plan is simply to delay, and we're going to get into more of that in a minute. Right here we have from another lawyer. He says, given the motion shown here, the significant revisions in the speech, I am starting to wonder whether or not the SEC Gov is so anxious not to disclose these earlier drafts because they mention XRP not being a security by 2018 because that had become sufficiently decentralized. Here is another lawyer pointing out that he believes the SEC speeches, the SEC emails regarding the Ethereum free pass speech likely involved talk of XRP. Once again, I do not have a lot of evidence to prove this, but it's very interesting to me to see a lot of lawyers all pointing this out. Let's keep moving though. And this guy, Fred, he's a lawyer. He kind of points out what the different situations are going on here. I'm not going to read his tweets directly because they're kind of broken to meet the Twitter character rule. But first, he says it's very important that Judge Netburn does not feel pressure to rule in the SEC's favor because of this case. He points out right here that as attorney Jeremy noted, this is an extremely abnormal lawyering technique and bordering on unethical, if not unethical. This is where the judge would issue some sanction to the party if the party was not the federal government. SEC now is beyond telegraphing that they better get their way. So what he thinks is happening right now is the SEC is just going to keep re-arguing the same issue and say you're going to rule on our favor because we're the SEC and you do what we say. This is a complete power play by the SEC, and they're essentially trying to bully the judges into getting what they want. The good thing for Ripple is there are very little pass out for the SEC. Even if a ruling goes in the SEC's favor, it still creates different opportunities for Ripple. Many lawyers I've been following have been having a very hard time finding any way the SEC gets out of this. Yes, Ripple might have to take a different avenue to victory, but it seems like right now the SEC is completely on the defensive and is constantly trying trying to cover up their own tracks and not spending enough time actually litigating the case against Ripple. I keep saying this, but the SEC has not brought any evidence to the table in such a long time. They are constantly defending their agency because they are getting attacked from so many different sides, by John Deaton, by third-party agencies, independent investigations, and Ripple. It's also important to point out that Fred tweet in SEC Thinking, our news story will force Ripple to demand new depositions, reopen old depositions. So he believes the SEC could also be using this as a stall tactic. God, I hope not, but we'll just have to see. Keep moving. One thing that is official from this most recent ruling is that the SEC has now stripped all previous guidance on Ethereum, so the whole crypto industry needs to wake up. Moreover, while it is true the SEC has not expressed a formal agency position on whether or not the sales of Ether constitute as sales of securities. So right here, the SEC has now retracted all previous statements on Ethereum, despite the fact that the agency has said multiple times that it does not see Ethereum as a security. This agency could not get more twisted. It blows my mind. Last of all, we had the former CFTC commissioner, Cristiano Giancarlo, on Fox Business Today, and I would play you the clip, but this video I can already tell is getting long. He says that he does not believe XRP is a security, and his agency has already said that XRP is a commodity. He believes that what we are watching right now by the SEC and Gary Gensler is actually a desperate power grab. He thinks that the SEC case against Ripple is all to get the SEC agencies more power, and thinks that this is all happening because Gary Gensler wants full control of the market. We need to make sure this does not happen. And the way you can do that and make a difference is to go to my Twitter, retweet everything I'm putting out, and connect to Congress. Make your family members do it, because the more pressure we put on the SEC, the sooner they are going to have to settle this case, because they are not going to want, or the congressmen are not going to want to listen to their constituents complaining that they are being attacked by the SEC.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.